Hello and welcome back to the game room. You know what I love? Video games. You know what I love talking about? Games. It seems like a lot of people these days who cover games seem to hate them, or at least the people who play them. Well, that's not me, and that's not the 5,448 of you beautiful people checking out this video here today. Well, we are taking a look at the Xbox 360 yet again. This is a video I've had in the back burner for quite some time. One of those things that when I dove as deep into the Xbox 360 library as I did last year, there were some oddities that arose during that mad dash to collect as much as I could. Now, unfortunately, I do not have these on hand, so I am going to be showing you kind of examples, but more or less, I just wanted to do a quick video here today talking about some things that you may not come across, or if you do come across them, while they may not be expensive, they are very rare and unusual. So if that sounds interesting to you, let's take a look.
There's a lot of games out there, some of which you've never even heard of. That's where I come in. My name's Luke. I've been playing games since the age of 2, and I have no life.
This is my game room.
So the first game I want to talk about here today was one of the first games I snatched for a killer deal at a swap meet back in May of last year. And in looking at this game, I came across it again on Father's Day when my wife took me out to a wonderful game chasing session on Father's Day, and I came across another copy of this game, which was the first one I had actually found out in the wild other than that swap meet. And when I opened up the case to check if the game was there was another disc in the game. And I was not aware that this version existed. And we're talking about the game Velvet Assassin. A surprisingly fun game made by a developer called South Peak Games, or at least that was the distributor. And South Peak Games is kind of a sneaky, I would say, not an excellent game developer, but they make some solid titles. They make some garbage titles too, but it's kind of like a, like a Trauma production or something like that, where it's not for everyone, but there are a few bangers in there, and this is one of them. It's a stealth-based game, very fun. You're playing as this, I guess this real-life French spy that was back during World War II, and then all this other stuff happens, but that's not what we're here to talk about, not the game. So there's a version of it that was a GameStop pre-order that came with a second disc in the case. And you guys might have this in your collection and be unaware and not know why it's there. And I think the second disc is purely just behind the scenes information, things about the filming of the game and interviews and things like that. But as we get further and further away from these GameStop, Target, Walmart exclusives, there are things like this that kind of come and don't necessarily get recognized. And so if you've ever seen a bonus disc in your copy of Velvet Assassin, it doesn't really increase the price, but much like finding the comic book with Bullet Witch or the slipcover with the submarine game, these are things that if you are looking to have the best collector's version of it, that's the one you're going to want to grab, and that's kind of what this video is going to look like. Now, another thing I came across when I was looking into these hard-to-find games is I was unaware, we have a lot of game key cards now, we have a lot of things released with a code in a box, but I guess that started in the 360 era, and there were a few games that actually had case releases that you would see in GameStop, but would just have either a code or a disc with a code or something like that. And one game that was very guilty of that was the Fallout 3 DLC. Now this is the Game of the Year edition. This actually has all the DLC on the disc, which includes Mothership Zeta, Point Lockout, Broken Steel, The Pit. Now I think some of the DLC for Fallout 3 came out on disc, but the last ones, specifically Mothership Zeta, that one was released with a case, but is exceptionally hard to find, and I believe it's just a code in that case. But if you find a copy of that, or if you see listings for it, it goes for a few $100s. I don't even know if you can redeem the code anymore. But that one right there is sort of the, I guess if you're a Fallout collector, that might be one of the holy grails. Though if you just get the damn Game of the Year edition, it has all the DLC on the disc. But it's just one of those cool oddities where I was unfamiliar with it. If you ever come across these games and it's unopened, just know that there's no disc in there, but it can go for a few $100s, which is kind of insane in my opinion. Famously, I did not get very far in Fallout 3, though I know I need to give the whole series a better shake, especially after I really enjoyed Obsidian's other games, though I know they're Fallout New Vegas. And of course, I'd like to go back and play the original Fallouts. And I have watched the TV show, which, yes, I know is blasphemy to some Fallout fans, but it was enjoyable enough. I enjoyed it. All right. So another one that came across my desk as far as when I was collecting was you started to see a lot of triple packs get released towards the end of the 360 lifespan when the Xbox One was around. You know, you see these bundles a lot with DVDs where there'll be the Jean-Claude 4-movie special or all the Rush Hours on one disc, all the Lethal Weapons on one disc. So one of the games that came out was the Assassin's Creed Ezio trilogy, where it had Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and then it also had Revelations. Well, there was one that I did not know of that was called the American Collection that had Black Flag, Rogue, and then the download only, or was it Rogue? Was it? Yeah, it was Rogue. It's called the, or was it Black Flag and Assassin's Creed? It might have been Black Flag, Assassin's Creed 3, and then the DLC only one. Well, lo and behold, there was one that it may have been a Walmart exclusive that was a 2-pack that had Assassin's Creed Rogue, but also included Black Flag. And that was the one I'd never heard of. I just discovered this the other day, which I have a copy of Assassin's Creed Rogue. I have a copy of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I don't know why I would ever want this or I would pick this up, but it's just one of those oddities that, once again, it's kind of crazy. Like, looking into this, I found a bunch of these games that I was unaware of, one of which I think was another Walmart exclusive called the Ultimate Stealth Pack that had a Hitman, had Deus Ex, then another one I'd never seen called the Ultimate Action, where it was like Tomb Raider and Sleeping Dogs. So if you ever see those, pick those up, I suppose. Though one of the games that I did want to talk about that I almost considered picking up, because one of the games on it, which in this triple pack, it had everything in the actual case. It had the manuals, and it had, I think, the Platinum Hits editions of these games, was the 2K Rogues and Outlaws collection, which included Spec Ops: The Line. And if you're wondering, it's because Spec Ops: The Line went up big in value. So this collection includes Spec Ops: The Line, Borderlands, and then the last one is, God, I don't remember what the last game is, but those Mafia 2. So those 3 games are all on this one collection. Each one has its own disc, each one has its own manual, and because a lot of the scalpers out there who didn't know the system as well, when Spec Ops: The Line went to the moon, this version of it did not. So I almost picked it up, and then kind of Spec Ops: Line went back down to earth. But still, this is a good option because people don't really know this one exists, though it doesn't come with the traditional case. Though really, if you pick this one up and then just go pick up a case-only copy of Spec Ops: The Line, you can put in the manual, you can put in the game, and it's fascinating to see these. It really was the kind of the because nowadays they would just put all the codes in the box or it'd be on one disc, but with this one it literally had all 3 games in this case, and I've never come across it. I've seen eBay listings for it, but I've never actually seen it in person, much like a lot of these combo packs, and that tells me that, oh yeah, that probably means that these are things that did not sell well or were specific to certain retailers, most likely Walmart, it seems like. That's where I'm finding a lot of these listings. So that's one to be aware of and that you guys should definitely check out. All right, moving on to the next one. This is a fun one. So I always like collecting different copies of Madden, and I did not get, I think the one I got on the 360 was Madden 10, the one that had Larry Fitzgerald and Troy Polamalu on it. The version, I want to say the year before that, was Madden 09 that had Brett Favre on the cover, although there's controversy there because it had Brett Favre as a Green Bay Packer, as that version of Madden was coming, it came out right after he had his great playoff run and then threw the interception against the Giants the year that the Patriots went undefeated. So he was supposedly retiring and then comes out of retirement, goes on the Jets. Ironically, there was a downloadable cover, or if you bought it from certain online retailers, there's some ones where you can get Madden 09 with Brett Favre wearing a Jets jersey in it. However, that's not the rare thing we're talking about. We're talking about the Madden 09 with the pink slip cover for breast cancer awareness. So this was something I did not know about at all, and it goes for many hundreds of dollars. And it's funny, there's a Madden 2011 version of this too, and it's just simply a little sticker. But with this one, it was a clear slip case that had the Susan B. Komen loopy thing on the bottom. It says breast cancer, and it slips right over the Madden 09 cover, and I believe they did it for the Wii as well. And it's just the slipcover. That's all I know. I don't think the actual game is any different. It was released with the Brett Favre version with the Green Bay Packers jersey, so they never had the Jets edition. But it's just one of those weird oddities where if you ever see it, and it's because it's a sports game, it's listed for nothing, grab it. Because currently on right now, I think I've only seen it on eBay twice. Once for the Wii where it's going for $900, and another one on the Xbox 360 where it was like $200 something, and I actually considered it, and then it sold. And then right now before this video, I looked it up again, and there's one up there for like $400 or $500 just for a clear plastic slipcase, because that's how problematic we are with us collectors looking at this stuff. But it's just one of those cool things. It's just Madden 09. There's nothing different with it. It's not even with the but it was released, I want to say, in November 2008 as a special, you know how they do these things, and it's just very collectible. And so one of those ones where, hey, keep an eye out for that, because that is very strange. Now, talking about collectible sports games, this is one that I kind of dug around looking for. I couldn't find an exact, but I believe there is an NTSC copy of FIFA 19 that when it originally came out, I think, now I don't know anything about soccer, so forgive me, but when it originally came out, I think it was a cover of Messier, or of Messier, however you say it, on it, and then he got traded to a different team, or he went to a different team, so then they launched another cover, and it had 3 different players on it. And it's exceptionally hard to find. I can't even tell you I've been able to find it other than possibly being released in South America, but I think it exists. In my research, I think it exists, which, once again, you know, take that out how you will, but there is and I know this happened in Europe. So there is a 3-player version that was released in Europe, but I think we got an NTSC version of it too, unless it's just one of those things where they're slapping on a generic thumbnail and putting the NTSC thing on it. But I think it might have only been released possibly in Brazil or someplace where soccer is actually seen, or football to my European viewers. I know I got a lot of British viewers out there. Sorry guys, football. I know. Okay, moving on to the next one. So this is one I had never heard of before. I actually came across this when I was at the Roseville Gaming Expo, which was just renamed to the Fire and Ice Gaming Expo for year 2. And it was a mail-away game. And mail-away stuff is always super collectible and super rare, especially if it's the only way to get it. Unfortunately, this is one that is pretty much a dirt common game, but there was a mail-away edition to get it through another game, and that would be through Singularity, a game that is more or less trying to be like BioShock, and after playing BioShock, I can tell you that it definitely kind of, it's doing a good impression. It's not BioShock. That initial feeling that Rapture gives you is not the same. But there was a mail away offer, I guess, in some version of Singularity where you could send it off and then get a copy of the game Prototype. And Prototype's a very fun open world sort of action game where you get these crazy powers and go through and rip through things. And I actually really enjoyed the hell out of it. And I saw this at the Roseville Gaming Expo, still sealed. It was in the little mailer. You see this little placard card, the CD's in there. I didn't even think it had a manual. Maybe it did. But it's a mail away. It didn't even come in a case. And it was just really fun to see. So if somehow you guys or you own a copy of Singularity and then you sent the thing to get a mailed away copy of Prototype, you know, kudos to you, because that is very hard to find. And I've never heard of it until this year. All right, moving on to the next one. This is sort of a unusual collection. I never heard of this collection before. It is called the Rockstar Collection. So I don't know what versions of the games are on this, but it has L.A. Noire, Red Dead Redemption, and then Grand Theft Auto 4. And it's just another one of those triple packs that I've never seen, didn't know it exists. It's kind of like you do a search for these things and they just show up, and there you go. I imagine it's probably just the vanilla versions of it, probably not the complete ones that have the DLC on them. I wouldn't imagine Undead Nightmares in there, but maybe it has all the manuals. It seems like that was kind of the norm. But if you're wanting to get all the Rockstar games, and this is I think it's still fairly affordable. This is a great collection. Why not? Get all three of them right there. Those are three of the best games of the damn generation. They're all great. And getting to the last two here. So one of the games that I really enjoyed was the Chronicles of Riddick, Dark Athena, and apparently there was a Toys R Us special edition. It just said Toys R Us edition on it. I have no idea if it included anything else on it. I have no idea if it included any other information on it. I just know that it exists out there and I have seen it. So if you guys have that, congratulations. And then the last game we're going to talk about here, I think I covered all of the ones I have. Yep, the last game we're going to cover is a twofer. So there was a version, and I don't know if I've had this confirmed, but there was a version of NASCAR 2009 that had the Montreal track on the disc. Apparently that was a DLC track. It wasn't on the disc. Well, there is a version, either a later release or something like that, kind of like the No Mercy 001 edition that you hear about, where it fixes the bank. So there's the Montreal track is around, and then there's apparently a NASCAR 2010 game that was unreleased, though there's hearsay that the game leaked out there and got out into the wild. I've not been able to confirm that or see that, but that's just another one to keep an eye out for. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. That is 10 unusual games to keep an eye out for on the Xbox 360. As always, it's so nice to get a hold of you. I release a new video every Tuesday. Take care.